Alrighty, AKA American Kickboxing Academy. Every single time I hear that name, and then I remember that some of the most dominant fighters at AKA are all incredible grapplers. It's kind of funny, right? With a name like AKA American Kickboxing Academy, you would expect that the vast majority of their top fighters would be incredible kickboxers. And not to say that these guys don't know how to strike. They all know how to strike, right? Luke Rockhold is there. They all know how to strike. Including Kane Velasquez knows how to strike. Islam Makhachev has decent striking. Even Khabib, right? All these guys, they know what they're doing on the feet. But again, the name would imply something. But then when you look at the way their top guys actually fought, it's the complete opposite, right? So with AKA, right, you've got Kane Velasquez in the heavyweight division. DC also fought in the heavyweight division, but then he had to move back down because Kane was the heavyweight champion, and DC did not really want to mess around with that. DC's debut was against Frank Mir. And then in the next champion, man, it's crazy because Kane was champion in the heavyweight division. DC was champion in the light heavyweight division. Then you have Luke Rockhold, who defeated Chris Weidman to become champion in the middleweight division. Also a AKA fighter, AKA product. Then you have Khabib in the lightweight division, who was just ridiculously dominant, never lost a fight. And now after that with Khabib, right, you've got Islam Makhachev, and then you have Umar Nurmagomedov in the bantamweight division. Now, I might be forgetting some fighters that are from AKA in the UFC, but I promise you guys, I will make sure that I have all these guys represented by the time we get to it. So I got to say, bro, this team, I don't know if there's any other team in the UFC that has produced more champions. I don't think. Not the Blackzilians, not Team Alpha Male, not Nova União, not Black House, not Jackson Wink, not TriStar, not City Kickboxing. I'm trying to remember if there's any other team in the UFC that has actually produced more champions than AKA, and I don't think so. I really don't think so. And yes, a lot of this also has to be, a lot of this credit has to go to Khabib's father, right? Khabib's dad created a team of just warriors, soldiers, and then right they're all training on the AKA. But man, still incredible team, and it's gonna be fun going through some of these fighters and doing fighter showcases for them. I'm nervous because I'm gonna have to wrestle quite a bit, and fingers crossed you guys don't find all of this so boring. I will try to make it as fun as possible, but again, it's gonna be a lot of wrestlers, boys, a lot of wrestlers, and it's gonna be a lot of wrestling. So let's actually get things started. For this first video, it is going to be, as you can see from the thumbnail already, it is going to be DC and Kane Velasquez. I'm going to do Kane in the heavyweight division, and then I'm going to do DC in the light heavyweight division, just because these are two weight classes that they ruled pretty well. So let's go right ahead and start things off with Kane Velasquez. Hope you guys are excited. You know, it has always been interesting to me that a team called, thank you, American Kickboxing Academy ends up having predominantly wrestlers. You know, wrestlers. Really? All right. Well, as you guys can see, we're starting things off with Kane Velasquez. And in this video, it's going to be Kane Velasquez and Daniel Cormier. I was considering, get off me. I was considering doing Kane Velasquez and DC in the heavyweight division. Yeah, bro, we're gonna wrestle. There we go. But I think it's better to break it down between the heavyweight division and light heavyweight division. And DC, in my opinion, although he was a better heavyweight, I do think what he did in the light heavyweight division needs to be represented. So, and at the time, it was Kane Velasquez that was champion. It was DC as champion. No, it was Luke Rockhold. Of course, you've got Khabib in there. You've got Islam Makhachev. AKA is a powerful team, man. It's an absolutely incredible team of competitive champions. And he denied it. Good deny. So what can be said about Kane Velasquez that has not been said before, bro? Like, cardio, right? When you think about Cain, think about a few things. You think about cardio. You think about, this man has me pinned right here. Deny that. Let's see how it can get out of here. There we go. You're thinking about cardio. You're thinking about, you know, his ability. Oh, my goodness. All right, hold on. Ooh, that was scary. No. That was scary. That was very scary. It is a pity that Cain, his career went the way that it went. Of course, a lot of it was him being injured. Cain was just, you know, Cain was too tough for his own good. You know, he would train so hard. He broke down his body. He had so many surgeries, so many injuries, a bunch of shoulder surgeries, knee surgeries, all kinds of surgeries. It almost feels like Cain has had surgery on every single part of his body just because of how hard this man would train. And you can see, you can see the quality of that training actually show up in how Cain would fight. He was very, very tenacious. Cardio for days. Still to this day, the best heavyweight cardio we've actually ever seen in the UFC. And he was also extremely well-rounded. He was just a recipe for disaster, bro. You know, Cain. He was good everywhere. He wasn't like the rest of the heavyweights at that time who were extremely well-rounded. I mean, think about when Kane Velasquez was champion. Like, when you think about back then, right? You've got Junior Dos Santos was in there. You have Fabricio Verdum. You had what's his name? Okay, so let's try to think about this again, right? At the time, you had Brock Lesnar, you had Junior Dos Santos, you had Fabricio Verdum, you had Frank Mir, you had someone like Ben Rothwell, you had Roy Nelson, some of these guys, right? You had Mark Hunt, you had Minotauro Nogueira, and then, you know, Ronda Rousey's husband. I'm forgetting what his name is. So essentially, these heavyweights, a lot of these heavyweights, like, none of them were as well-rounded as Cain. None of them were. They were all sort of one-dimensional, right? JDS, boxing. Someone like Fabricio Verdum, of course, jiu-jitsu. Although Fabricio started doing Muay Thai, and of course that helped him later on in beating Kane Velasquez. Started doing Muay Thai. Frank Mir, of course, mostly jiu-jitsu. Minotauro Nogueira, decent hands, but mostly groundwork in jiu-jitsu. Someone like Ben Rothwell. I mean, come on, Ben Rothwell. Chet Congo at the time was in the UFC. Chet Congo was predominantly a striker. So, someone like Cain goes out there. He can punch, he can kick, he can elbow, he can knee, he can take you down, he can submit you. He's doing all this stuff. And on top of that, he had insane cardio and a pace that broke everybody. You know, to this day, Cain Velasquez is, in my opinion, the most impressive heavyweight we've seen in the UFC. John Jones is impressive in the sense that he's bringing... There we go. John is very impressive in the sense that he's bringing the well-rounded and the athleticism of a light heavyweight to heavyweight. And you don't really see that. You know, someone like Tom Aspinall is impressive because of his speed and also his athleticism, right? You know, but none of these guys will give you the feeling that Cain Velasquez did at the time. Cain just was a force. He was nightmarish. That's what it felt like. Anytime Cain would fight, it was just nightmarish. He would beat guys down, you know, take them down and just beat them into the ground. He would be covered in their blood. One of the most violent Cain Velasquez fights, besides, you know, what he did to Junior Dos Santos, is his fight against Bigfoot Silva. You guys remember that fight? You got to go watch it, man. If you haven't seen Cain versus Bigfoot, it was gnarly. Absolutely gnarly. Busted him open. Just beat him into the ground. Got him out of there. And now, I'm facing a Fedor Emelianenko, which, by the way, I did not know the reason why Fedor was not able to fight in the UFC. I didn't know the main reason until I saw the podcast between Joe Rogan and Ilya Topuria. And Joe Rogan was revealing to Topuria that the main reason was because, at the time, Fedor apparently was being controlled or managed by these Russian gangsters or something along those lines. And at the time, they wanted, not only did they want money for Fedor fighting in the UFC, not only did they want Fedor to be paid very well, but they actually wanted a piece of the company. They wanted to run it very similar way to the way that Pride was ran. Apparently, Pride was actually ran by Japanese, was it the Yakuza or something like that? Like, Pride was essentially like... Some of the stories you hear about Pride back in the day is quite fascinating. For the most part, everybody was on steroids, and it was like there was no testing, so it was like, yeah, Pride was fascinating in Japan. But so that was a big reason why we never got Fedor Emelianenko in the UFC, and I think it would have been fascinating because, right, there was a lot of talk at the same time that Cain was being described as the greatest heavyweight we ever saw. A lot of people were saying, well, there's a man named Fedor Emelianenko, right? Fedor is a thing. But you never really got to see how Fedor would have competed against UFC fighters because your stamina is too low for that, buddy. Come here. Give me that head. There we go. Ah, I missed it. To the body. There we go. I know I'm shooting a lot. Get out of here. That was a scramble. I know I'm shooting a lot, but, you know, it is AKA. This is going to be the AKA experience, so you guys are going to be expecting a lot of wrestling. I will be using, you know, I'm using Cain. There will be DC. There will be Luke Rockhold. There will be Khabib, right? There will be Islam. These guys are all... Right, there's Umar Nurmagomedov that we're going to have to take a look at. No. Crazy, bro. AKA has produced so many dominant fighters. It's insane. I actually don't think that there is any other team in the UFC that has produced more champions. I don't think so. Is there? I don't think so. No. Stop it. He denied it. Posture up here. Does Cain have this Kimura right here? No. Mat return. Not bad. Not bad. Denied. This is actually a good fight. We're being very competitive with each other. I like it. Denied again. Bro, I'm not letting you do that. Let me see. Nope. He got up. He doesn't want to get pinned against the cage. I don't blame you. He block countered me. So, and then of course we all know what's been going on with Cain. It's a pity. It's a pity. None of this stuff is really... Okay, kick. Just a career. I don't know if there's any other fight, you know, it's just that with Cain it's just a lack of, you know, a lack of potential being realized. That's just what it is. Because, man, imagine if Cain was healthy, if he was able to stay healthy. Because that was a big reason why. Oh, that was so close. That was so close. I'm pretty sure I got this fight. Pretty sure. That was a big reason why, you know, we just didn't see as much of Kane Velasquez as we all would have loved. He was just too injured. He was always getting injured, training too hard. And when you're in there wrestling Daniel Cormier over and over and over and over and over again, and, you know, and DC himself said it, that he just never felt as prepared unless he had Kane Velasquez in the room. And when Kane's not in the room, just Cain gave him something different, you know. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one with Cain Velasquez. I hope everything works out well for him. You know, all the legal issues. But I know he's been charged now, but hopefully everything works out for the man. He is a legend. That is 100% fact. All right. So let's see if we can get a fight in the light heavyweight division so that we can use Daniel Cormier. Let's get it. Now, my opponent saw that I picked DC, and he specifically went for Dominic Reyes. Now, I'm saying this just so that when I start taking this guy down, don't complain, sir, because you had multiple options in here. You could have gone with John. You could have gone with... I mean, this weight class is full of grapplers you could have used, but you decided to go with Dominic Reyes, so I shall take you down. There we go. Nice and I. Now, the beautiful thing about DC is DC, he's always been like, he'll stay right in your chest. There are a few fighters that when they're saying, man, you got to go fight. You got to go fight. Got him. Right? You kind of look at them like, but you don't really do that. DC is not one of those guys. Every time DC is commentating and talking about someone that's not, especially someone that's shorter, and he's always talking about, man, you gotta go in there and you gotta go fight. It's what he did. It's what DC did. He was always undersized. By undersized, I mean by height. DC was a big boy, but he was, you know, shorter than a lot of his opponents. But he had the advantage of being an incredible wrestler, Olympic level wrestler, and none of the guys he faced, not a single one of them, had his credentials. Not a single one. Not even John Jones. But the beautiful thing about DC is that if he couldn't get you down consistently, he was okay just fighting you. Like, DC was a fighter, man. Like, he will stand, he will push forward. That's what I'm doing right here. Push forward, stay right in front of you. Of course, use the clinch uppercut, which you're trying to do here. Throw those uppercuts in the clinch. He will throw boxing combos, leg kicks. There we go. Uppercut. To the body. Nice. Dumb. Hey, bring it. That's fine by me. All right, my opponent is being very, very cerebral. Yeah, he's being very calm. Look at him. He's being very calm and cool. He's not panicking whatsoever. Although, he might start panicking at some point. Yeah. All right, we're going to start block countering this dude very soon. I am very tired of the meta in this game, bro. I've complained about it so many times. I'm so tired of it. Here we go here. Ooh! Oh, there we go. I'm a good player. Front kick. All right. Very good. Very good. Very good round. Very good round. You know, I wasn't... DC is a very interesting one. He's a very interesting one. I feel like if John Jones did not exist, DC would probably be my favorite. This dude is block countering me legit. I feel like if John did not exist, DC would have probably been my favorite light heavyweight. Honestly. Some of those fights he had leading up to John Jones were so dominant, man. So dominant. There we go. Right? You guys remember his fight against Patrick Cummins? At first, it was his debut was against Frank Mir. It was against Frank Mir in the heavyweight division, and I believe the reason why DC moved down to the light heavyweight division was because of Kane Velasquez, right? Kane was a heavyweight. DC did not want to mess around with what Kane's got. They're teammates. There we go. So moved down to the light heavyweight division, and I believe his very first fight when he moved down was against Patrick Cummins. I think Patrick Cummins fought DC on short notice, if I remember correctly. That was his first fight in the UFC. It was against Daniel, which is insane. But there was a lot of talks about... Bye-bye. I knew it. I knew he was going to run head first into that. There's a lot of talks about how, like, when DC and Patrick Cummins were training together, that Patrick actually made Daniel cry. But this was around the time that DC had lost his daughter. So that was kind of bummy for Patrick. And DC made him pay for it. You know, he beat him down. Just absolutely beat him down. And then from there, bro, you know, climbed his way, made his way up to the top. Ended up winning the title at one point with John Jones being gone. Defended that title. I believe he defended it against Anthony Joshua. Not Anthony Joshua. Anthony Rumble. Anthony. What is this? Anthony.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee.
Why am I forgetting this dude's last name? This is crazy. Rumble Johnson. I think, yeah, Anthony Johnson. Yeah. I say Anthony Joshua. Anthony Johnson. Defended against Anthony Johnson. Defended against Alexander Gustafsson. Who else? Am I missing somebody? Did he defend against Anderson Silva? I don't remember, but yeah. Anyways, this is going to do it for the very first part of the AKA experience. If you guys enjoyed this video, go right ahead and leave a like on it. Either later today or tomorrow, it is going to be Luke Rockhold and probably Khabib. We shall see. I'm not sure. It depends. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you boys later with a brand new one. As always, stay safe. Peace out. Have a good one.